What's up out there? It's your boy Lanye, 24 years free. So as you can see, I'm not in Bitcoin land. For the year 22, we finna switch it up just a tad bit. Finna do things a tad bit different. We're gonna broaden the horizon in regards to the subject matter. You will still get all of my prison stories and all of my insights from incarceration, wrongful incarceration, mind you. And you will see me filming in Bitcoin land. However, we're going to put out a lot more content in the 22. So we're going to need to broaden from just one location. So with that said, we're going to get this started. As you know, this is my dwelling place. You might have saw this in my congratulation video when I passed 1,000 subscribers. So you'll see a lot more of these. So in today's episode, I like to talk about the day that I was released from prison. It's important to understand, though, that me being released from prison is the kind of experience that took 24 years to happen, because every day in prison, I thought I was getting out of prison. Anytime they got on the speaker and said, inmate such and such report to R&R, you're being released, I assumed they were finna say my name next. I didn't think I was going to stay in prison, and I was not prepared to stay in prison. I was preparing to get out of prison. So, all right. The date was June. Actually, the date was January of 2021. In 2021, January, I was told that in June, I would be getting released on what is called expedient release. So, let me back up. I went to board in December, and in February, I was told that I would be getting released in June. Now, this is where you need to understand that at the time, I still had a year to do. What they do is you go to the board a year before your actual release. So I'm called 24 Years Free on this podcast and this YouTube channel. But the reason why it's called 24 Years Free is because I was released on the 24th year as opposed to the 25th year. I still owed a year. So when February came and they said from a secret source, somebody on the inside said, you'll be getting out in 24 years as opposed to 25. The prison was not feeling that. They said, you owe us a year. We don't care what those people are telling you on the streets. But my people on the streets was telling me something they had heard specifically from Sacramento, that I was a model prisoner, that there was no reason to keep me outside of any obligation of a year, and that we could figure that out on the streets. But the prison didn't care. They had me in custody, and they had no intention to let me go to custody. So, my connection on the street said June 3rd would be my expedient release date. Again, I had been living my whole time in prison thinking that I was going to get out any day. So June 3rd seemed like, yep, that's the date. So as June 3rd started to come closer and closer and closer, they weren't calling me to R&R, to Transpac. Transpac basically means all of my clothing, all of my personal items, I put them in R&R so that they hold them until my release. But they're already over there waiting for me to be released with my physical body and then my property on that date. June 3rd came, I was still sitting there. Now, mind you, over the years of thinking I'm going to get out any day, people had started to feel some kind of way and say, yeah, you just say that. You're not getting out. You don't really believe that. Or you don't have any inside connection to get you out early. But my inside connection was God. So, it depends on the person's faith to understand how I could stand on such a belief. So when June 3rd came and went, my whole family on the streets had planned parties. People had flown down from Tennessee. Shout out to cousin Charity. Actually, she flew down from North Carolina. But June 3rd came and went, so I got on the phone and I told my people, like, what's going on? So they tell me, let's call Sacramento, let's find out. They call Sacramento. Sacramento says, well, there's something going on with the paperwork. We keep putting in the release dates. Your prison, CMC West, keeps denying the release date. So we started to wonder, how can they deny a release date if you're saying you're going to release me? Who's in charge of the front door? They said, no, we're in charge of the front door, but we give them autonomy and free range to decide how they're going to administer our orders. I says, okay, your order was to release me on June 3rd, yet here I sit. So fast forward, now it's July. The prison has denied 2 releases from Sacramento. At this point, we're telling Sacramento, you need to send a representative down here to release me because they're not going to honor your order to release me. The date was July 9th. Let me back up. The date was July 7th. July 7th, a new order came down from Sacramento. Lanye Wendell Tucker is to be released forthwith from prison this date, this time. Well, how it works is that order goes from Sacramento to Records Department. Records Department looks at the order for release, and then they look at the date that their paperwork says I'm supposed to be released. Mind you, their date said December 3rd of 2021 that I was supposed to release. So July 7th, when they're looking at this order, release Mr. Tucker on July 7th or soon thereafter, they're saying we're not going to release him until December. So they reject the order, send it back to Sacramento. By this time, my whole family is livid. We are pissed the fuck off because the people who run the prison is telling them, let them go. The people who hold the keys to the door at this particular prison saying we're not letting them go. I got a niece. Shout out to Brandy, one of Larry's kids, great cousin. She got on the phone. She made some things happen. My sister Nita got on the phone, made some things happen. You know, they got on Twitter. They got on Facebook. They told all their followers, call this number and ask them why they're not releasing this man. All right, so now it's July 8th. July 8th, a new order comes down and says, release this guy in the morning. But by this time, this new order came with all of my, family members in Black Twitter blowing up these people's phone numbers, blowing up these people's, their answer machine, blowing up their emails, and leaving comments saying, why are you not letting this man go? You guys have been told by Sacramento to let him go. Records, and then we had the name of the person in Records who was denying the release. They were bombarded with so many calls that they called me into an office where the warden was. The warden personally apologized to me. We're sorry. Our paperwork said you weren't supposed to be released till December. Yet this order came down from Sacramento to release you tomorrow. We apologize. We didn't know that the process and the procedures have been changed. We should have let you go June 3rd. So now it's official. I am out of here. But you got to keep in mind, with all of my faith, with all of my ability to hold fast to my belief that I was not going to stay in prison, and me having hope against hope that all of this time that I would be released, now that it was actually happening, yeah, grain of mustard seed of faith, but I had a nano mustard seed of doubt. And I was not going to believe it until they let me go. Because I had been down to R&R, I had taken all of my property, believing I was going to get out. And then they found a way to snatch it. So this time, down there with all my property, and I've been apologized to by the warden. And they are basically saying, no, there's not going to be any more hiccups. You're going home. I call my people. I say, this is not a drill. I am getting released from prison. I go through processing that morning. I'm pacing the floors, scared to death that something is going to happen where they say, well, we've figured it out and we've changed our mind. And now even Sacramento say you're not going home. But that didn't happen. They called me in there. They processed me, ran all my fingerprints, make sure they was releasing the right person. And I was released. I was given $200 gate money, bags and bags of property, boxes, old books, old letters, and I was shoved right out the door of the prison. My cousin, Raquel, shout out to Rocky, Auntie Carol, my mother, they came to pick me up. A few of Rocky's kids, Nigel, few of the family members came down, and I was released. After 24 years, the door opened, shoved me out of the door slammed closed, and then they completely wiped out that it had ever happened. It's hard to find any proof that I was even in prison for 24 years. If you Google me and you do certain searches, it doesn't say, here's his mugshot, this guy is a convicted murderer, these sorts of things. Because they knew they had done wrong in the first place. So they pretty much wiped their hands of it. And it shows that there was a gap of time where I was not in society, but it isn't not exactly clear where I was for those 24 years. You and I know. You've been following me on my channel for the whole time, so you know where I was at because you know about the child hall. You know about the haunted Folsom prison cells. You know about the, when they integrated the prison with the trannies. And you know about all of the things that I've talked about. But if you didn't follow me on here and you just saw me, knew my first and last name and tried to find out where I was, it's almost like I was wiped clean from some sort of any record of this happening. But that's cool here, neither here nor there, because I'm documenting all of this on this blog. This was the day that I was released. So as we're driving back from CMC West, I go to my first department store, and it's just items and items and items and items everywhere. More choices than I know what to do with, because I'm only used to one of two choices. State food or Roman noodle soup. That was my only choices. Now I got Thai food and Belizean food and Chinese food and Mexican food, and then all of the fast food restaurants. The choices were overwhelming. What did I want first? A Dr. Pepper. Dr. Peppers were impossible to find in prison because you only had one choice, Pepsi. The only other choice besides Pepsi was water. Sure, they had a Sierra Mist and these kinds of things, but as far as colas went, Pepsi. Coca-Cola couldn't get arrested in prison. There's nowhere to find a Coke in prison. So that was the first thing I got when I got out of there. Next thing I wanted to do is I just wanted to just gaze out the window and just see openness. And I did that for the entire 2-hour trip back to LA. It's been a whirlwind of being released from prison and trying to acclimate into prison. And a lot of people say, well, you've acclimated so fast. You've gotten so good into the groove of being out of prison. It's like you never went. And the only reason why that is because I was never in prison here. Here is where the first prison lies, not the gates. And I've talked about that before, and I'm going to talk about that some more in depth in different episodes. But the moment I was out of prison, I just immediately said, everything you waited for up until this date, everything you've been hoping for up until this date, everything you've been praying for up until this date, everything you had faith for up until this date has manifested. Now, what are you going to do? And I immediately hit the switch, free man mentality. Because I was a free man in there, now I'm a free man out here. But the difference is that I treat freedom a lot differently than y'all treat it. You see what I'm saying? Y'all never had y'all freedom taken, so you don't really understand what it's like to have it back. See, I understand what it's like to have it back, and I appreciate it like it's a diamond. I appreciate it like it's a baby chick. You know what I'm saying? It's very fragile, and it's one of those kind of things where you don't want to take it for granted. You don't want it to just run around and maybe get hit by a car or a vulture come down and swoop it up. No, I'm protecting it, right? So this is a baby chick that just hatched. He needs to be protected. Mama bear the nest. I'm that eagle making sure my chick that is freedom, flourishes and flies. So anyway, that's my episode talking about the first day that I was out of prison after 24 years. It was hard getting there. I'm telling you, it was hard because they didn't want to let me go. They wanted me to do a whole nother 6 months. But Sacramento said no and kept me in an extra month. The prison kept me in an extra month. And now that I'm out, I'm ready to live, bro. I'm ready to live, yo. Let's do this. Let's focus on what the future holds in 2022. You see what I'm saying? So 2022, it's our year. We finna make things happen. So I just want to thank you for this episode. Yo, this is Lanye, 24 years free. If you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Pass this on to someone. Comment. Let me know what you think. I want to talk about what you want to talk about. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep putting these videos out. Hopefully you like them. Hopefully you pass them on. Hopefully you give me your input on what you like best. Yo, this is Lanye, 24 years free. Until next time.